I think Barbara wants to do a little welcome. Is that correct, Javier? So I'm going to ask her to come on up, and I'm going to help her up here.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so delighted to be able to work with our favorite friends from the city and the chamber, and really glad to meet so many of you. Some of you are new contacts for us, so I hope you enjoy your experience here today, and it may be your first time at the Miracle Theater, so we're going to give you a little example of our main stage productions we're presenting next year. You will see it on the 5-minute video, and if there's any way we can help you through our cultural audiences, we bring about 150,000 people through a year. Our first show is Evita, and we're producing it both in English for 4 weeks and 3 weeks in Spanish. So we really expect to garner a large crowd of wonderful people who are discriminating cultural consumers and dine out and buy retail. So if there's any way we can assist you in your recovery, we're very happy to do it. We're happy to work together with you. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and my cards are in the lobby. If I can do anything for you or my staff can, please feel free to call us. Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please take your seats? The curtain will rise in 1 minute. Gentlemen, will you please take your seats? The curtain will rise at any moment.
All right. Well, that's a hard act to follow. I would tell you, if you haven't come out and seen a show here, well, it's not our goal today to sell you theater. Take the time to do that. And support Barbara in her 30th season right here on Miracle Mile. They've been an integral part of our business community all 30 of those years. And I will be playing the lead role in Evita. Not Evita. Didn't that one guy look a lot like Ricky Martin? It really was Ricky Martin. Anyway, we're going to get started with our program. Again, if you feel the need to get up and get a little bite to eat in the middle, the food will be out there. Thank you to Elizabeth and to Catering by Lovables. Our first speaker is going to be Brian Van Hook. He is the Associate Director of the Small Business Development Council. They are housed right here at FIU. Wonderful resource and a great partner. And so I'd like to invite Brian to come forward to the stage, and we'll begin our program. And again, thank you to all of you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
And I think, guys, I'm going to have Mark come to every event that I go to introduce me. He always does such a good job. But how do I follow Ricky Martin? So I'm going to start talking about disaster stuff when there's Ricky Martin up on the TV. So I just want to thank you. My name is Brian Van Hook, and I am, as Mark mentioned, I'm Associate Director of the Florida SBDC at FIU. Those acronyms basically mean we are a center here in Miami, and we're here to help you in good times, and we're also here to help you in bad times. So we're going to talk to you today about some resources that are available from the federal government, from the state of Florida, and also here with our center. And then also we have Ray from the SBA who's going to talk to you about their programs as well. So thanks for your time. And I just want to say, guys, this is the largest my presentation has ever been. So I feel pretty proud. Like, I wish my kids were here. They could see how Daddy's moving up. Okay. We've got a battery. Okay, there we go. So a little bit about who I am, like why am I talking to you guys? As I mentioned, basically I'm Brian with FIU. I worked on disaster recovery and disaster preparedness issues for about 12 years. I'm a certified business continuity professional. And as you see, this was actually a response to the BP oil spill. So I got to actually fly over the oil spill and then go meet with businesses. So this is my cool disaster picture that I can show I was once cool. But basically I have experience and I'm going to give you guys some knowledge. Okay. A little bit about our center. Our network is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the SBA and with the Fed, so we receive federal funding. Our network, that program is organized in Florida under the Florida SBDC network. So you can see we have centers all around the state. And that's us at the bottom in FIU. And actually, we don't have the Keys on there because we actually opened a center in Key West and the Keys a couple weeks before Irma hit. So our center is down there, and they're actually helping out, but they're like the new guys on the block. So in terms of our core services that we offer, our bread and butter that our center does is we offer one-on-one business consulting. So we will help you with access to capital, financial management, government contracting, international trade, marketing. We'll help you with any kind of stuff. And the best part is it's your tax dollars at work. We receive federal funding as well as funding from the state of Florida. So I was actually going to ask my two consultants that are here, George and Julio, can you guys stand up? Okay, wave. Thanks, guys. So these are two of our consultants. We have a team of about 16 consultants. As I mentioned, they're specialists in particular areas. And then one of the things we also get a lot of requests for is for market data, industry research. A lot of that, we can help you with that. And then we also do have specialized services and programs that we help. So that's what we do when things are good. When things are bad, we also provide that assistance. We will basically help you in terms of accessing SBA disaster loans. We'll help take a look at your application package. We can get you information. We can help you prepare financials. We can also help you if you're applying for the Florida Bridge loan, what I'm going to talk about. But let's say you don't need financial assistance. You know, your customer base is disrupted, you know, or your business model might not work as well as it used to. We can also help you with different strategies, different marketing. We can help you with a lot of those things as well. So that's my shameless plug. So let's go. So let's talk about disaster funding. That's what you guys are here to talk about. Basically, the state of Florida has an emergency bridge loan program. The bridge loan has been around, I want to say, since the late 90s or early 2000s. To date, it has provided about $20 million in bridge loans for Florida small businesses. Basically, this funding, as you can see on the screen, is to bridge the gap until you get other assistance, whether that's SBA disaster loans, whether that's insurance proceeds, whether that's your sales pickup. But these are basically to keep businesses afloat, get them some immediate capital to make repairs, and then also to kind of keep up and running and keep going so they can get back up and running. As I said, this is a grant. This isn't a loan, so this is something that you do have to pay back. And then I want to point out that the website for the program is floridadisasterloan.org, which is at the bottom. I'm testing it out for you, Ray. I'm going to make sure the pointer works. Okay. Teamwork, that's what we're all about. So this is about the eligibility. Basically, for the program is in all 67 Florida counties. We specifically work on the program here in Miami-Dade County. That's why you guys are here. And as I mentioned, basically the program is for up to $50,000. It was originally $25,000, but they actually saw the demand for Hurricane Irma. So on Friday, the program was increased from $25,000 to $50,000. But you have to basically have been established prior to the storm. You have to have between 2 and 100 employees. And then you have to demonstrate economic or physical damage as of Hurricane Irma. So you can't just say, I want to get the money because I want to buy new equipment and do really well. You have to say, no, I was impacted by the storm. I received physical damage or economic impact, and the money I'm going to get is directly tied to Hurricane Irma because it's basically to help you respond to the storm. As it says up there, basically the loan term is 90 days or 180 days, but these are bridge loans, so you have to pay the loan back within that term. So if you sign up for the 180-day term, then you have to pay the bridge loan in full by the end of the term. They do have interest that accrues after that, so I'll get to that in a minute. So these are the loan details. As I mentioned, either 90-day loan term or 180 days. They're low interest, no interest for the loan term. But then, as you can see, basically, if you don't make the payment, you don't pay off the loan by the end of the loan term, it's 12%, then it goes up to 18%. So these are really, really kind of emergency bridge loans. And so we encourage folks to take a look at this program, but also to take a look at SBA disaster loans, because those are also long-term recovery. This is more kind of like short-term capital. Okay, there we go. So a lot of questions that we get from people calling about the loan program is, what kind of information do I need to put in the packet? And the good thing is you guys are here today. So I actually did put, when you walked in, our checklist that we use to review the applications. You'll see that it says Florida Bridge Loan Application Checklist. It includes all this information, because the key thing for our center is we want to get a complete application, because I'm like you guys, I want to turn around that application and I want to get you a loan decision. It's not an Oprah moment, so I can't say like you get a bridge loan and you get a bridge loan and you get a bridge loan. I'm hoping that the application is good enough that you'll be able to, but we do have to have a local loan committee review that. But the tough thing is, if the application isn't complete, if I don't have your 2 years of business taxes, if I don't have your 2 years of personal taxes, if I don't have a copy of your driver's license, if I don't have W-2s, because on the application you say that you have 8 employees, the state of Florida asks for that information, so I do need to have that. So at the end of the day, what we ask folks is, this is sensitive information that you put in the application. It has social security numbers, it has tax ID numbers, so we encourage you to go to the website, download the application, fill it out, pull together all the information that's required, and to call us to set up an appointment. Usually down in Brickell is where our office is, but we can meet you if there's somewhere else we need to meet. But we want to receive that application in person, because it's very important to us to protect your information, to protect your business information. I'm also a little biased because I also do cybersecurity, so whenever people start emailing me this information, I'm like kind of holding up the do not send that. But basically, at the end of the day, we want to turn around these loans for you guys and at least get you a loan decision in about 2 weeks, because we realize these are emergency bridge loans. It's going to take a little longer if you're approved, because we have to work out a time for you to do the disbursement, like to give you the check. But in terms of how we're working right now, it is approximately 2 weeks from when we receive a completed application until we can actually give you a loan decision. So it mentions up there, basically we need 2 years of business taxes, 2 years personal taxes, W-2s, and a copy of your driver's license. But also this is going before a loan committee. So I would always say you want to put your best foot forward. Just like if you're going to church, you want to dress nice. If you're going to a bank, you want to give them all the information. You want to put in a lot of information that's going to help your support your application. So you want to put in there like your P&Ls, your profit and losses. You want to put in photos of any damage that you've had. If there's any kind of narrative that you need to put in, if you need to explain something that might come up in your credit history, because we do pull credit for the loan application. We look at the credit number, we look at the credit score, but mainly we're looking at that to look out any like federal tax liens, any foreclosures, any charge-offs. But you guys know sometimes that's things that you can explain. If you had medical issues or medical bills and things like that, or if you have some things on your credit report because maybe you had the hurricane and you weren't able to make payments, those kind of things you can explain them. But we ask you guys to put that in the application because it's just like going before any loan committee or any bank. Okay, and this again was the website floridadisasterloan.org, where you can basically go in, and very important, the deadline is October 31st, 2017, so the deadline is coming up. But I would also stress that the deadline is October 31st, but it's also based on the contingency of funds. So originally the state of Florida had allocated $10 million for this program, and they set the deadline at October 31st, but we're getting a lot of applications. And we're here in Miami, we did have physical damage, but we had a lot of economic impact. But we're not anything like the Keys, we're not anything like over in Fort Myers, and those guys are seeing a lot of applications. So I would encourage you, if you think you might be interested in this program, reach out to me afterwards, shoot us an email, but also start looking into it because the deadline is coming up pretty quick. And then also, there is this survey that's available from the state of Florida for you to go in and put down what damage you received, whether it was economic impact or physical damage. I'm a recovering federal employee, so I can tell you guys that this is important to the federal government and to the Congress and to SBA because they need to know in terms of damage in the state, how is it looking when they come up with like application deadlines, whether they should be extended or, if Congress, if there's any additional funding they're going to provide for a disaster. They look at those kind of surveys. So you would be doing Coral Gables, you would be doing Miami-Dade and Florida Service if you would put in your business impact because we need to get that information from you. So I'm going to go a little bit into disaster loans, but I don't want to steal Ray's thunder. She's really nice, so I don't want to make her mad the first time I meet her. So I'm not going to go into this in too many details. The one thing I want to mention, though, and it's a point she's going to make, is you need to look at SBA disaster loans. They're 3.3%, which is really good if you don't have credit elsewhere. But if you're applying for a physical damage loan, you also need to look into their mitigation program. Because for mitigation, it's really good in terms of improving your business so that you don't have repetitive losses. Like the federal government doesn't want to see repetitive losses. Insurance companies don't want to see it. You don't want to see it because you don't want to be out of operations. So the physical damage program does have the opportunity to get up to 20% of the physical damage that SBA verifies, where you can do like flood walls, you can elevate things, you can do things like tornado shelters if you're in the Midwest, but you can do some really cool stuff with your business to basically make sure that you don't have damage the next time around. So I always encourage people, if they have that opportunity, not just to build back, but build back better. And as I mentioned, basically, she's going to talk about it. You can fill it out online, you can fill it out in person, or you can mail in the application. But I'm going to go through that. So the one point I want to make is the deadlines. The deadline is November 9th, 2017 for physical damage, and June 11th. Don't wait until the last minute to apply. And also, don't miss the deadline, because if you miss that deadline, you're not going to be able to apply again. And a lot of businesses, in my experience that I've worked with, they really need this money and they miss that deadline for whatever reason and they're not able to apply and they miss out on these low interest loans. And it could really be something to jeopardize or impact your business. And then also what I mentioned to businesses that we work with is if you suffer major physical damage or if there's a likelihood that you need SBA disaster loan funding, go ahead and apply before the deadline, because if you're approved, you don't have to move forward with the application. So you can pretty much get approved for the SBA loan and then just see what your circumstances are. And it's always good to have that, to rely on if you need it, but maybe you don't need to. But also, just because you're approved for $250,000 doesn't mean you need to draw down the full $250,000. You can basically be approved for $250,000 and you can draw down the $25,000 that you can get without collateral, and then you can only pay interest on that $25,000. And then you can see how things go with your recovery. But that's something that I always encourage folks to look into. Don't be scared about don't apply, but also don't worry if you're approved for a full amount. They only charge you interest on what's been dispersed. And just real quick, these are some common questions that we always get on SBA disaster loans. So the typical issues that result in a decline, mostly they look at lack of repayment ability. It's the same thing with the Florida bridge loans. We don't want to give you a loan that's you're not going to be able to pay back or you're going to struggle with. So if you've got existing debt, if your business financials aren't as strong, those are things that we factor in. Also, just like with SBA, the Florida bridge loans, we look into your credit history. We look at things like foreclosures or any kind of red flags in there, like tax liens and things like that. So those are things that we look at, but it's the same thing for SBA. And the one thing I want to mention is if you're in decline, you do have 2 opportunities to appeal that decline. So a lot of businesses don't know that. They'll get the decline letter from SBA and they think, oh, that's it. Let me go, let me circle back with my insurance company or let me just make do. And they don't know that actually if your circumstances change or maybe you have information you didn't include in that original application, you can put that in and you can appeal it. But you can actually appeal it twice. You can appeal, I think it's 6 months from the initial decline and then 30 days from the second decline. So that's an opportunity, and obviously Julio and George, we can help you guys with that. If you do get decline, you can reach out to our center. I hope you would reach out to us before then, but if you do get decline, those are things that our center can help you with. And then lastly, as I mentioned, these are simple interest loans, so you only pay interest on the amount that's dispersed. So don't be scared to apply because you're worried about having to pay interest or anything like that. You only pay interest on what you draw down. So, and guys, this is not Brickell, so let's talk about some additional disaster recovery tips. This isn't Brickell, this is actually downtown New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, but the image looks very similar. So I've done this presentation a few times, and they're like, oh, that's a cool image of Brickell. I was like, nope, that's not Brickell, that's New Orleans. So I want to talk to you about 5 quick steps that you can take to have a smooth recovery. I'm not going to say it's going to be the smoothest because there's always things that are going to come up, but these are some things that you guys should look into to help build your business back. Number 1, basically document your storm damage and impact, but do it the right way. Number 2, call your insurance agent if you haven't already. Number 3, file a tax extension, which I've seen a lot of people doing, so that's good. Obviously, avoid contractor fraud and scams, and then communicate with your customers. So let's dive a little bit into that. First, just talking about documenting your damage properly. Repairs is important and cleanup is important, but you want to make sure that you don't clean up everything and not document what all happened. You also want to keep any kind of damaged materials, any kind of damaged flooring, tiling, merchandise, because those are things that SBA, insurance, and other folks are going to want to look at. So you're going to want to store that information. But a lot of people just rush out to get the business back up and running, and they don't take the proper time to document it. Get photos, get video, and that's very important. Obviously, you also want to save any records that you have that shows the pre-storm damage of any equipment or merchandise or fixtures and things like that, because those are things that SBA and insurance is going to ask for. Okay. And like I said, you want to work on any records to show how your business was doing pre-storm, and also document how you're doing after the storm, because especially if you're applying for economic injury assistance, whether that's through the state of Florida or through SBA, you want to show how is your business doing now versus like last year versus the year before, because they're going to use that historical data to compare it. So like, as we mentioned before, that includes like revenue, sales documents, P&Ls, forecast statements, And as I mentioned, that's stuff that you're going to want to provide to SBA when you apply for them as well. So insurance agents. So a lot of you guys have already called them, you've already reached out, but you basically want to be prepared because depending on what type of coverage you have, you might have a couple different adjusters come out and look at things. You know, if you have business interruption, if you have physical damage, if you have some other stuff or contents, you might have different adjusters. So just be ready, because I know after a disaster, it's kind of unnerving when you have 5 or 10 people coming out to your place and kind of disrupting things. But just be prepared for that. And also very important is to document everybody you talk to about the claim, just in case you have to follow back up with them, or in case there's something down the road that you need to say, well, this person said that. That's very important, and some people don't think about that. And then also, very important is we want to talk about building back better. Talk to your agent and see if they do free risk assessments. Most of them will do them. But you want to talk about looking for any kind of coverage lapses. The commercial that they have, you think you're covered for this, but you're actually covered for that. Well, this is the time that you're going to find out. You're going to find out some things that maybe you hadn't got coverage for. But actually your insurance agent, most companies will do a risk assessment and come out and tell you some gaps in your coverage or some things you should look into. And so I also want to stress business interruption insurance, because a lot of people think about that in terms of fixed expenses, lost revenue. But let's say you had planned ahead and you had a temporary location. Actually, business interruption will cover operating from a temporary location. So that's something that's pretty cool to look into for the next disaster. So let's talk a little bit about contractor fraud. That's something that's always a problem in any disaster in any area. And so you just need to be on the lookout for it and just be prepared. Obviously, any cold calls, anybody comes up to you off the street that's going to sell you materials or be like, hey, I'll get in right now and I'll fix your roof. You want to use folks that are licensed through the state. You want to demand that they have general liability insurance and workman's comp. You obviously want to get anything in writing and get 3 quotes from different contractors on the work that you're going to get done. If you're going to get any kind of project, you want to put everything in a clear written contract. And if you have legal advice, have them take a look at it to make sure there's no liabilities or issues for your business. Put in any kind of project details in there and then initial them. And if there's any changes, you want to add those into the contract. You don't want to just operate verbally, because that's where a lot of business owners get into trouble. And then I talk about payments. I think, here in Miami, we work with a lot of contractors and things, so everybody's had a bad experience. I had a bad experience with my house when I first moved here in terms of getting stuff in writing and also working with, in terms of paying the right amount up front. So that's something for business owners that's very important, making sure that you pay them once everything's final and they did everything according to the contract. So a lot of businesses have already done this, so this slide is hopefully redundant for a lot of you guys, but you want to check into IRS and filing a tax extension, because the IRS has extended lines as it relates to some different things in terms of payments, in terms of different quarterly filing deadlines and things like that. But I would encourage you to go to the IRS website to check out the details, and then also, since it's the IRS, there's going to be some forms involved, so you're going to want to go there and check out the forms that you need to fill out. Let's see. Okay, and then lastly, a lot of businesses I've seen have already been running special campaigns or special promotions, but I think nowadays a really good way to communicate with your customers is through social media, is to let them know that you're reopening, to pass along specific disaster recovery information that's helpful to you. Because if something is helpful to you, like a Miami Herald article, if you see something that Javier put out from Coral Gables, that's relevant to you, share it with your social media folks. Maybe tag them as well. Maybe he'll tell you thanks on social media, or he'll share it or something like that. But you want to get that information out. If it's important to you, it could be important to somebody else. And then also, we talk to businesses a lot about setting up specific campaigns. And those are things that you can easily do on social media nowadays, whether it's thanking firefighters, thanking police, thanking folks from Coral Gables that are picking up, the debris. It's up to you if you want to do one for FP&L. But at the end of the day, sorry, I knew that would go over like that. Basically, these campaigns are good ways to raise awareness that you're open and also build goodwill with your customers and with other partners. So I would just encourage you guys to take a look at that. We already have a lot of our clients that are doing that, whether that's like first 30 customers get a free gift bag, firefighters get a free donut, police get a free donut. But it's been working really well, and you can see like a lot of traction on social media on that. And then also in terms of social media, as I mentioned, basically share disaster recovery information. Remember that it's a two-way street, so that if you're putting out information, also respond when your customers respond. So if they say something, remember to respond thank you, or if it's something that they point out something on your website, make sure that you can get that addressed really quickly. And then just track what they're saying. Just track what they're saying to each other about different promotions and different things that you're doing. And so lastly, I want to end strong, since I have you guys' attention, since I'm on this big stage with the movie theater screen behind me. I hope they're not going to get the hook and kick me off. But I want to talk to you guys about building back better. Let's talk about business continuity. So you guys just went through a major disaster. You want to talk about recovery, but let's also take some steps that we can do to actually prepare your business, so maybe your business isn't interrupted as much next time. Maybe you don't have damage. Maybe you can stay in touch with your employees and your clients quicker. So let's talk about a few quick steps on that. Building a resilient business, it's a lot of different things. It's risk management, it's contingency planning, disaster recovery, which focuses on IT, succession planning. A lot of people don't think about that. My boss in our office always says, that's really great that you have this information, Brian, in your head, but what happens if you get hit by a bus tomorrow? And she said it enough times where I'm like, do you know something I don't know? But you got to think about your business. You're running the business. You're the CEO, you're the CFO, the CTO. There's a lot on your shoulders, and a lot of people are relying on you in terms of the business. So you want to think about kind of what, if something happens to you, what's going to happen to the business? So a lot of those things are things that we factor into disaster preparedness. And we're here to say we can help you guys. SBA also has a lot of really great resources on disaster preparedness. So let's kind of get into that a little bit. So first, and I got to say this is my favorite slide, guys, just because the turtle plays well. So I'm happy to see the turtle on the big screen. But you basically want to look at business continuity not as something you have to do, like eating your broccoli or something that's a chore. You want to think about it as something that can give you a competitive advantage. Because I guarantee you, if your business is still down and your competition did some preparedness, they're going to go after your customers. And so for you, you want to think about, what are some things that I can do to get back up and running, to open my shop, to get the word out to my customers so that I can keep my customers keep going and keep my business running. So as I said, think about it as a competitive advantage. But also, if you're working with any large companies, if you're working with the federal government, if you're working with state or local government, you're in their supply chain. So they want to know that you're around. They want to know that you're going to be operating. They don't want to know that one of their suppliers is going to be down if something happens. So those are things that actually can make your proposal stronger if you're applying for different bids, different contracts, or even if you're seeking work or business from larger companies. So you want to think about some basic stuff, like who makes your business run, what makes it run, where does it run, how does it run. You want to think about some things like what are critical functions to your business, what are not critical, what are important. Because I can guarantee you right now, as you sit here today, you know what was critical functions for your business when Hurricane Irma was coming and after Hurricane Irma passed. So those are things that you want to think about. And so when you think about those critical functions, you want to think about how long can my business operate with a disruption to those critical functions. Is it 24 hours? Is it 72 hours? You want to think about those things. Very important, I'm a big believer, like your front line is your bottom line. So you want to talk to your employees and work with them on their disaster plans. Most of the businesses, when you hire somebody, that's when you get all that kind of stuff. But you have to think about from the day you hire somebody until 6 months down the road. People get new email addresses. People basically will get divorced, unfortunately. People will lose their cell phone. They'll get a new one. So the contact information that you had maybe 6 months ago might not be up to date. Or people might change their plans. Maybe they have children now. Maybe they have a pet. So maybe somebody that you had talked to that was going to evacuate and go to Orlando if a hurricane came, maybe something changed where they're actually going to shelter in place here. But those are things that you want to talk to your employees about because you want to know where they're going to go. Not just because you want to ensure that your employees are safe, which you do, but you also want to be back up and running as quick as you can. And so different disasters that happen, you can have a business that's not really physically impacted by the storm or by the disaster, but they can't get back up and running because they can't find their employees or they don't know where they're at. So those are things that you want to talk to them about. But specifically, you want to talk to them about like childcare, pets, elderly residents, or relatives. You want to talk to them about those kind of things and have them think through it, because you don't want a storm to be coming and them to get hit flat-footed and be stuck on the road or be stuck somewhere they don't want to be. I would also encourage businesses nowadays. There are free apps that are available that you can actually set up a disaster-specific chat, like whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's Slack, other things like that. I can tell you guys we use WhatsApp, and we basically set it up like a couple months before the hurricane season started, and we use it just for disaster-specific information. So what we did for Hurricane Irma is we just said, okay, everybody, we're activating our disaster response plan. Everybody be ready. And then people were basically checking in. I'm safe. I'm in Orlando. We had one of our employees that went back to his family in Venezuela. So we were able to check in with everybody, whether they were here or whether they were overseas. And then we were also able to push out really good information from the county, from Coral Gables, from other partners to get to them. So we were able to get back up and running because we were in touch with them. Because I think we all saw cell phone networks go down, internet goes down, you have trouble reaching folks. So you need to have alternate means to get a hold of them. And then one last thing I want to mention to you guys in terms of apps. Actually, FIU, we developed an app for businesses. It's called Bizaster. And basically, Bizaster was developed with the FIU Extreme Events Institute, our center, and also USAID. It's available, as you can see, in the App Store and Google Play. This is free. It doesn't cost you anything. But basically, Bizaster basically includes checklists. It includes tabletop exercises. It includes like risk assessments that you can look through to see what type of risks, what type of disasters are more likely to hit your business. And so this is something that we developed to help businesses, because I've seen a lot of disaster preparedness events where they give you a big stack of paper and they're like, here you go, work on this, here's a guide. For us, we wanted to meet you guys halfway. So we actually do have this app. It's something you can do on your phone or your iPad, and you can actually take a couple steps to improve your preparedness. But we're not exclusive, so these are some that are from the federal government, from some other groups, that are apps that you can get on your phone now to help you when a disaster happens. And I would note the FEMA app is really helpful in terms of finding shelters and things like that. You guys at SBA, Ray, you don't have one yet. Maybe down the road you guys will get an app. Yeah. Yeah. And then here's some resources for you guys. Basically, these are things that I mentioned to you, but Florida SBDC, that's where you can check out some of the resources we have. Bridge loans, the SBA disaster and FEMA website. Also in terms of preparedness, these are some that are available. Ready.gov, Florida Division of Emergency Management, Miami-Dade County, and this is a website from HHS that has some good disaster apps. But I would also encourage you guys, like as you're sitting here now, sign up for the Chamber's newsletters, sign up for the city's newsletters, because they really do put out good information. And they're partners that we have, like whether it's from our center, whether it's from the county, that we're able to basically get information and push it out to them. And their job is to get it out to folks like you. So I'd encourage you now, while things are slow, to sign up, because I would say I've seen both information that both groups put out, and it was really on point. So I'd encourage you to check into that. And then there's the information for our center, sbdc.fiu.edu. That's also our phone number and our email address. And then I'll be around afterwards. I'm not going anywhere if you guys have any questions. And then I'm going to kind of leave it up to Ray to close strong, to finish strong. So thanks for your time, guys.
And we'll do Q&A at the end as well, so if you all have any questions, just hang on to those, and we'll be glad to either have Brian or Ray or anybody from the city or the chamber help you with that. One quick point of personal privilege. Sarah Zamikoff is right here in the middle of the audience. She just celebrated 10 years with her great store, Emporium. How about a round of applause? That's a huge milestone for retail. especially coming off a storm like Irma and even some of the challenges that we've had downtown recently. It's my pleasure now to introduce Ray Harbor. Ray is the PIO at the Small Business Administration, and we're very fortunate that we have an ongoing working relationship with her office in the SBA, and they've been kind enough to host us up in Washington, D.C. When we're up there for our regular fly-in. So I want to thank her for being here today. So let's introduce Ray Harbor.
Well, I'd like to first start off by saying that locally you guys are very lucky here because Brian is intimately familiar with the SBA Disaster Loan Program, and that is a great local resource for you guys. I'm in town from Atlanta, and I will be here for quite a while, but eventually SBA Disaster will go back to our offices, but the local SBD here is going to be your long-term recovery source, and they're going to be here. So it's great to see that Brian really understands our program, and I think he might have my job as well as his job, and I think he could cover it. But what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about disaster assistance. What I can say from my experience working with the SBA Office of Disaster Assistance is that it takes a village to recover from a disaster. It takes neighbor helping neighbor. It takes the community helping each other. And it takes businesses helping businesses. And what I also have really learned is businesses have a leadership role in helping the community to recover. So we are all in this together. And I work with the federal agency, and I'm here to help you. And I'm connected with your local SBDC, and they're going to be here to help you. There are also state resources. So we all have to be working together. We all have to try and get through what is a very difficult situation for anyone who is impacted by this storm. In my tenure with SBA, I've never seen so many disasters nationwide, and this is certainly the largest disaster I've worked with. As you all know, most of the state of Florida has been impacted. But that's where we all get together, we work together, and we work on recovery. So with that said, I'd like to go into the PowerPoint and give you a little bit of information about our office. See, Brian's even better at this than I am. I think what did you do, a loop-de-loop? It's over here somewhere. Yes, our office in Atlanta, is SBA Office of Disaster Assistance, and we handle the eastern half of the country, which would include Florida. It also includes Puerto Rico. And we have different offices around the country that are involved with processing loan applications and bringing you service. We're all connected. And as you know, a lot of people have the question about why is SBA here and what do they do with disasters? And at the SBA, we offer low-interest disaster loans. When there's a disaster, our loans are available to homeowners, they're available to renters, and they're available to businesses of all sizes. So don't be confused that we're the Small Business Administration. When it comes to a disaster, we help pretty much anyone in the community. And that would include any type of businesses of all sizes. It doesn't matter the size. If a business has had physical damage, the SBA can provide our low-interest disaster loans. And I can give you the numbers for the state of Florida as of this morning. We have approved over $2.6 million so far since we have been here in town for Hurricane Irma. And this is something I think you're probably aware of, is we cannot duplicate compensation. This is for uninsured losses. But what I would like to say is that unless you have your insurance check in your hand, you don't know what your insurance company is going to do. So don't wait for an insurance company for your settlement to apply for an SBA disaster loan. You should apply right now, because if there's a gap, the SBA can fill that gap. If it doesn't go exactly as you think it's going to go, the SBA can fill in there. But what you need to know about the SBA disaster loan is there's really not a good reason to not apply. There's no fee to apply. There's no fee for canceling it. There's no fee for paying down the loan. And as Brian said, if we're able to approve you, you can put that loan on hold for 6 months while you negotiate with your insurance, while you look at your financial resources. And then that, instead of you having the November 9 deadline, you just gave yourself a 6-month deadline. And then if you choose to activate the loan, you can do that. And you can use your insurance proceeds to pay it down. So there's just not a reason for not applying. And when it comes to businesses, we offer 2 types of loans. We offer loans for physical damages, and we offer loans for working capital. And those rates are as low as 3.03%, and our terms are up to 30 years. For our working capital loans, we do not require that the business sustained any physical damages. So it's up to $2 million at rates as low as 3.03%. And as Brian spoke to, what we're really looking for is the ability to repay the loan. That's really what we're looking for. Obviously, someone who doesn't have the ability to make the repayment, they're not going to want a loan. That's just a lot of pressure. So we're just looking for someone's ability to repay. We tend to be a very aggressive lender when there's a disaster, and we really try to cast a wide net, because we want to get this community up and running as soon as possible. Okay, let's talk about how to apply. The first step that I would recommend is to register with FEMA. And that phone number is 1-800-621-3362. Now, FEMA does not offer a program for businesses, so a lot of businesses don't think they should register with FEMA. But the reason to register with FEMA is that creates a record, and that lets the officials know how much damage there is, how many people were damaged. So even though you're not going to go through the FEMA program, it's a good idea to register with FEMA and then go over to the SBA loan program. You can apply online. You can also call the 800 number and have an application mailed to you. And you can also go to a center and apply. And here in Miami, the center, this was the first day of official operation, and it's located at Miami-Dade College. So you can go over there and you'll get one-on-one assistance. And while that center is a FEMA center, we have SBA customer service representatives, and they can help you with your business application. They can also help you appeal any determination letters. So this slide just kind of shows the process of, this is more for homeowners, so I'll just speak to this for a second, but with homeowners, register with FEMA, apply with SBA, and if the SBA cannot approve you as a homeowner or a renter, you would be referred back to FEMA where you might be eligible for additional grant assistance. So these are some of the reasons to apply, and I think we have a lot of reasons to apply. What we don't have is a reason for not applying. It's a low-interest loan program. It's available. Go through the process of applying, and you do not have to take the loan if you are approved. And as you have witnessed, we have SBA resource partners, and that would be Brian, who's here today. We work closely, FEMA and SBA work together, and SBA and SBA resource partners work together. And we all work together with the state, with the community, and with anyone who's had damage to try and do everything we can to help someone recover from this disaster. An R800 number, you can contact them if you need to have an application mailed to you. What I'd like to also be sure everyone is aware of is for IRMA, we've been authorized to defer the loan payments so that your first payment is not due for 12 months. Another important thing I might mention to you is that I spoke to you a little bit about homeowners and renters and their contents. If you have a home-based business, you could apply under the home loan if any of your computers or equipment was damaged in your home, but that's your business. You could apply under the home loan program. An automobile also would qualify as personal property. So that's our presentation. What I'd like to say is that we're all just in shock, and we're just gobsmacked that this disaster has happened and how widespread the damage is. But we're here, we're on the ground, and we are partners with you, and we're going to do everything that we can to help these businesses get back up and running. And get back to a new normal and to be functioning and to be prosperous. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you very much. And so we'll take some questions. If folks have individual questions or thoughts that they want to share or resources that you have already found helpful, please feel free to share that. I know that Ray and Brian will stick around for a few minutes if you want to ask things more one-on-one or something specific. All right, I'm coming right down here to the front. Tell us your name as well.
My name is Nelly Santamarina. I own a cafe here in Coral Gables called Tinta y Café. And my damage is really more economic than physical. My question is, what are the fees that the SBDC charges to assist us?
So our center is actually federally funded. We get funding from the state of Florida, and the FIU hosts the center. So pretty much your tax dollars go to the federal government, and this is a way for it to come back down to you. So we provide no cost. So you see George and you see Julio over there. The cool thing is these are specialists in their areas, but we pay them to work with you. So we pay them based on the amount of hours they work with clients. And we actually, for our center, we actually gold them too. So I see them kind of smiling a little bit. but it's outcomes focused. So for us, we want to help you get a loan. We want to help you grow your business, grow your jobs, export, do things. So it's actually a really cool program.
Great. You had a question as well?
Advice. I need your advice. What about businesses? We're so Comcast and Wi-Fi and AT&T dependent. The service during Irma was scary because last hurricane we had landlines that worked. Now the landlines didn't work. No cell phone service, power outages, and businesses could not operate without internet. I mean, our internet is still coming in and out. Our equipment was fried. And so do we have any allegiances or relationships with the technology world to help us, or we're just at the mercy?
All right.
I can take it. I would say, as we talked about disaster preparedness, these are things that you want to look into. If your service was down, if they were very slow, if you didn't like the customer service, I would encourage you to factor that into your disaster preparedness plans moving forward, because you can always shop around. Like, you basically shop with your...
Nobody was up. So when nobody's up, then what do you do? Is there like a place, like let's say the SBDC would be like a center for us to log into or to...
Yeah, we don't really work like that. I think this is something I could talk to you specific, because it gets into like specific technology and things like that.
It's probably $500 because I've been using my hotspots. And so is there something that the SBA can do to talk to the providers to not whack us, for
SBA?
lack of service? I don't know if you guys have a favorite. The business...
One thing I can tell you is... Yeah, the one thing I can tell you is that doesn't fall under her agency. That does fall under the Federal Communications Commission. And actually, I know that the FCC was down here. The chairman and one of the commissioners was down in Miami, was actually talking to business owners. I think they actually went to like a radio station or a broadcast station and were seeing how they did after the storm. So those are things that they, were looking into. So I think that might be more appropriate. But in terms of your specific technology challenges, I mean, I think that's something I can talk to you about. Just in terms of preparedness. Huh?
You can fill out the survey.
Yeah, you can fill out the survey online as well. But I think that might be more, if you want to talk 3-letter federal agencies, that's not SBA, that's FCC. So that's at least what I can give you for now.
And just so you know, we had a conversation, Javier and I did, about, was that Friday, Javier, on the 15th, with Comcast to talk with them a little bit about our concerns about restoration of connectivity, and then I had a follow-up conversation with folks from AT&T. So we'll continue that, because it isn't only just consideration, it's getting things up in power, because we got different kind of answers from different folks.
I was going to mention to you guys as well, they mentioned when you have issues like that, contacting the city, contacting the chamber. Also, Miami-Dade County, they have an emergency support function 18, ESF 18 desk that's focused on business recovery. And so actually ESF 18 is a public-private partnership. So ESF 18 from the county, they actually are trying to get information from businesses on outages, on things like that. And so actually SBDC, we're part of ESF 18, so I was in the Emergency Operations Center before Irma, and then I came in after. But that's the kind of information that we look to. And a lot of times we get that from the cities, or we get that from chambers. But I would encourage you to apply, because you can actually apply as a partner for ESF 18. And then when they push out information, you would get access to those emails as well. So it might be a way for you to get information and share information. But it's Miami-Dade County Emergency Office of Emergency Management, OEM. And they have an ESF 18 program. And so you can actually register, and then you can get on the email list. And they have like routine partner calls and things like that are on there. But I know that when we were at the EOC, I was sitting next to somebody from AT&T. I was sitting next to somebody from FPNL. They were all very popular folks. So I can say they were working hard, but they really were working to get information out. So that's something that you can actually have access to some of that information.
And if you get your card, we'll send you that sign up. Because we get that, and we've been on some of those calls as well. Do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to tell that after the hurricane, I called everybody, and everybody issued me a credit.
Okay, so that's another good resource, even
Except
though
for FPL.
you're dealing with some restoration issues, you might be able to go back, and we did that with our Comcast account.
I want to just add something to what you're saying. I know a lot of people who experience similar issues as well. For instance, I have T-Mobile, and I also have like a hotspot, and I wasn't able to really get any access. And I think there's a lot of variables associated with that, including like the clouds and maybe the towers being kind of temporarily down. But I was able to get everything solid on AT&T. So just having a difference of a carrier as a backup plan could really help. And we were able to watch Netflix the entire time. So.
What? Narcos? We're watching Narcos. Season 3. All right. Other questions? Nellie?
My other question is, if you apply for the Florida bridge loan, can you also apply for the
Yes,
SBA?
and actually that's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to apply to the bridge loan first. It was like a short-term loan.
Yeah, so you're basically supposed to apply to the Florida Bridge loan and then also apply to the SBA. Because SBA, in general, I don't know what the processing times are, but generally it's like 3 weeks or so.
Maybe about a little longer.
A little longer because you have a couple of disasters. But for these, as I said, we're trying to turn around within 2 weeks, at least get you a decision, and then and so we're trying to turn around from when we receive, I stress, a completed application. That would give you a decision and then work with you on a disbursement. But like she basically said, you get the money from the state, then you can basically also apply to SBA, and hopefully you get insurance proceeds. Hopefully your sales you're going to pick up, because you're here promoting your restaurant as well, and then you get an SBA loan. And so, but in terms of like paying off with bridge loan, those are things that you need to think about your business in terms of it. Because I know, like, that sometimes that hurts the business if you do that. So it's just a matter of what's your circumstances.
Good question up here, right? Tell us your name.
My name is Sebi Fernandez. I have a real estate company. I have a few questions. The first one is I see the term for the loans are 30 years or 7 if the credit is available elsewhere. How do you determine that? Is that based on the company's credit or the owner's?
I think
How does that-
when we say terms 30 years, it means terms up to 30 years. How long the loan, can you hear me?
Yeah.
How long the loan goes is determined by the applicant's ability to repay. So it's not saying that it will absolutely be 30 years. And the 7 years, that's talking about the economic injury component.
Okay.
But for the one thing about credit elsewhere, what they look at is, do you have a line of credit with the bank? What are your credit scores? Like, could you reasonably get a loan on the regular market? Because as Ray said, SBA loans, they're for uninsured losses. They're basically kind of for folks that wouldn't be able to get a loan somewhere else. So when they look at credit elsewhere, they'll look at your credit history, your credit score, and if they determine that you should be able to get a loan somewhere else, that's when they'll give you that rate. But also an easy thing is if you have a line of credit with a bank already, you have an existing relationship, a lot of times they would prefer that you use that existing line of credit. That's something you can draw down quickly.
But they look at the person's credit or the company's credit?
They look at personal credit.
Both.
Both.
Oh.
If it's a business loan, they are going to be looking at the business. Are you talking business?
Okay.
Business for a business. Yeah.
Other questions? Well, I think that both Brian and Ray will stick around for a few minutes
Thanks, guys.
and ask any questions or answer any questions, I should say.
And thanks to Mark from MCing.
Oh, well, thanks. Javier, any other thoughts from you or Francesca or the team? You all know Javier Betancourt with our city's Economic Development Department, and he's been working very closely with us.
I'll just say, obviously, not every business was able to attend today, but thank you all for coming. We have recorded this session, and that's going to be available on our website for those businesses that weren't able to attend. So if you know of anyone who would appreciate and benefit from this information, point them to our website, coralgables.com/economic, I believe it is. And so we'll have all the information from the SBA, the SBDC, plus the video of today's presentation.
If you're recording, I would have worn a better tie.
Oh, that tie looks good. And there's two things that I would add additionally. I think the first is that this is sort of a beginning conversation. Obviously, you see what some of the deadlines are, but I assume, like most things, the earlier the better that you apply. One, you're going to have that information sort of fresh, and you kind of have an idea of what you'll be looking for, especially on the economic side. And then I think, secondly, both from the city and the chamber's perspective, we're going to continue to work these issues and continue to engage our partners. We'll follow up on some of the questions that you have that we have as well. We're doing, if you're not a member of our chamber, we're running a nice little post-Irma promotion that Yvette can tell you about, or any of our members, so that's our shameless plug. And we got 2 exciting events to remind you about. We're going to be dedicating the Giralda Plaza on October the 13th. That got moved because of Irma, but if you're interested in seeing that beautiful new street, that's on October 13th. And Small Business Saturday is just around the corner. A great way to continue to get your name out there in promotions. That's on Saturday, November 25th. Thanks again to Barbara Stein, our host, and our good friends at Lovables for the goodies. There's plenty of things out there if you want to take anything with you. Brian and Ray, thank you very much. Have a good afternoon, everybody.